What if the true ruler of time isn't the clock, but a sacred architecture of light? Sophia handed me this manuscript like someone uncovering an ancient compass, forgotten by the ages. They call it the Book of the Course of the Heavenly Luminaries, the third section of the enigmatic first book of Enoch, a text cast out from the canon, yet revered in the shadows by sages, visionaries, and heretics alike. This is not poetry, nor modern astronomy. It is a cosmic map dictated by Uriel, the angel of presence. In it, Enoch records the movements of the sun, the moon, the winds, and the seasons as they pass through invisible gates in the heavens. Here, light does not obey physical laws, but divine ones. What you're about to witness is divided into 5 acts. Each reveals a facet of the sacred calendar, from the secret dance of the sun and moon to the judgment passed upon the stars in times of corruption. We'll uncover how the sins of humanity can disturb even the rhythms of the heavens, and what fate awaits those who misread these eternal signs. This is not a report, it is a restoration, an experience for those who are no longer content to gaze at the sky without understanding its language. Because in the end, as the text itself declares, the year has exactly 364 days. Act 1. The revelation of Uriel and the order of the sun. Enoch did not look at the stars like a scholar. He listened to them like a prophet. So begins the book of the Course of the Heavenly Luminaries, not as an astronomical account, but as an invisible dictation. Enoch is guided by Uriel, the angel who not only observes the heavens, but governs them by command of the Lord of Glory. This is no metaphor. Uriel is the engineer of cosmic rhythms, the guardian of the divine calendar, the cartographer of a light woven with laws, cycles, and destinies. Uriel does not explain, he unveils. He does not teach in human words, but with visions as precise as a cosmic compass. Enoch does not interpret, he transcribes. What is shown to him is not belief, it is a structure that upholds all reality. This first act opens the door to heaven, literally. Enoch sees 12 gates, 6 in the east, 6 in the west. These gates are not symbolic, they are functional. Through them, the sun enters and exits, weaving the very fabric of time. Around them, windows release sacred heat and celestial fire. A system of holy ventilation, the breathing of the cosmos. This is not poetry, this is luminous engineering. Light is not free. It flows like an obedient river, pushed by invisible chariots, moved by the wind. But this wind is not natural. It is will. The sun runs its course day and night without ever pausing and without ever disobeying. The heavenly gates are not randomly aligned. Each one corresponds to a month of the year. The journey begins in the 4th gate of the east, where the sun rises during the first month for 30 mornings. Then it moves to the 5th gate, and then the 6th, marking the advance of the seasons. Once it reaches its peak of light, the sun descends again through the same gates in reverse order, revealing an exact cycle. In this system, days are not measured in hours, but in parts. In the first month, the day has 10 parts and the night 8. In the second, 11 and 7, then 12 and 6. And so it reverses. These proportions are not just measures, they are balances. Each part represents a living fraction of time, as if day and night were 2 vessels filling and emptying in alternating dance. There is no solar year here as in modern science. There is the eternal year, 364 days, governed by the march of the sun through its assigned gates. This number is not arbitrary. It is exact, closed, complete. And as the text subtly warns, to deviate from this count is to err. Those who followed other calendars were led by forgetfulness. Each morning the sun rises through its appointed gate. Each night it sets through its opposite. It completes the circuit with a fidelity that needs no supervision. The order is so stable that if men fail to follow it, it's not because the heavens have changed, but because they have broken their bond with the sky. Uriel also reveals that the sun's light is 7 times brighter than that of the moon, though both are the same size. This phrase holds a key. What is seen does not always reflect true power. Brightness is not about volume, but sacred function. What Uriel teaches is that the sun does not merely shine, it is organized light. Its path sets the rhythm for growth, for harvest, for worship, and for justice. And it does not run of its own accord. It runs because it has been appointed. Its obedience is not physical, it is spiritual. It is a witness, a servant, an eternal luminary that enters and exits without fading or resting. A modern reader may be tempted to read this as an ancient astronomical treatise, but that would miss the heart of the message. What's at stake here is not the sky, but the covenant between earth and the order that governs it from above. And that covenant bears a signature, not written in ink, but in the fire of the greater light. That which rises is the great luminary, appointed by its appearance, as the Lord has commanded. At the heart of this book, light is not constant, but its obedience is. Uriel does not merely show Enoch the path of the sun through the celestial gates. He delivers a number, a secret of absolute precision. The year has exactly 364 days. This number is not rounded. It is just. It does not conform to civil calendars or to the erratic movement of the moon. It is the true year, one aligned with the heavenly lights according to their divine origin. And this revelation is more than a number. It is a judgment. Because unlike earthly calendars, here every day counts, within a perfect system that allows no error, no deviation. If men have strayed, it's because they stopped looking upward. This calendar is built with architectural rigor. The year is divided into 12 months, marked by the sun's journey through 6 eastern and 6 western gates. Through these gates, the sun modulates the length of day and night, not with clocks or shadows, but with something purer, parts. A part is not an hour, it is a sacred unit, the measure by which heaven calculates its heartbeat. In the first month, the sun enters through the 4th eastern gate. For 30 mornings, the day has 10 parts, and the night 8. In the following month, the day grows to 11 parts, the night falls to 7. Then the sun enters the 6th gate, 12 parts of day, 6 of night. And from there, the harmony reverses. The day begins to shrink, the night to grow, in a perfectly symmetrical pattern. This rhythm reveals that time does not flow like a river. It swings like a pendulum. It doesn't simply move forward. It returns, and it returns with the logic of invisible balance. Time is not linear. It is fractal. Each part of day and night responds to a system where nothing is missing, and nothing is wasted. This law of waxing and waning days is not arbitrary. It is a language. The seasons don't just change the weather, They express the will of heaven. The length of daylight is a silent discourse from the higher world. That's why it's counted precisely and observed like a commandment. And this commandment is fulfilled without fail, because the sun never tires. It runs day and night in its course, without waning, without resting. Its movement is eternal. It does not act from will, but from appointment. It was chosen, and for that it shines, not because of its size, equal to the moon's, but because it was given the light to shine brighter. 7 times brighter, to be exact. That number is not decorative. 7 is the number of creation, of the full cycle of covenant. That the sun shines 7 times brighter than the moon doesn't just make it superior. It makes it a symbol of the original order, of the eternal pact between heaven and earth. And as a symbol, the sun does not improvise. It repeats, it returns, it recalibrates. When it finishes its path through the 6th gate, it returns to the 5th. From the 3rd, it returns to the 2nd. Its course is a wheel that turns, not because it is a slave to motion, but because it is faithful to the design it was given. Yet even in this design, there is space for a higher mathematics, the intercalary days. These days belong to no month. There are 4 of them, hidden like interstices of time. They are not added to the ordinary count, but without them, the year would be incomplete. They are the calendar's breath, the pause that allows everything to fit. These days are inserted like hidden pillars within the walls of time's temple. And many men, says the text, go astray by failing to count them. That is why their years are false, why their seasons fall out of harmony, because they have forgotten the silences of heaven. They have erased the margins where light comes to rest. This second part of the first act is not merely a description. It is a dictation. What Enoch receives is not information. It is a sacred system of measurement where the sun obeys the law without deviation, and the night fulfills its assigned portion. Uriel teaches that this structure was not given to calculate the day, but to preserve justice. Because if the sun were to rise one morning through the wrong gate, if it were to shine one part too much or too little, the order of the world itself would collapse. Fruits would not ripen, waters would cease to flow, judgment would lose its hour, and the memory of the sacred would be swallowed by disorder. But that does not happen, because the sun does not fail, and the voice of the text confirms it, with a certainty that needs no embellishment. Running day and night in its course, and its light shines 7 times brighter than the moon. Act 2. The rhythm of the moon and her cycles. When Uriel reveals the moon to Enoch, he doesn't show him a lesser star. He hands him the hidden face of time. Unlike the sun, whose path is steady, continuous, and always obedient, the moon appears as a cyclical creature, mutable, ever shifting between darkness and fullness. But that change is not disorder. It is a mirror, a reflection of the sacred dynamic that upholds the world, where even variation obeys an exact pattern. The moon does not govern herself. There is no fire within her, only alone. Her light is not her own. It is transferred from the sun, not all of it, but in portions, exact fragments that wax and wane in a pattern only Uriel can explain. That is why, from the beginning, the text calls her the lesser luminary. Not because she is less important, but because she depends. Her significance lies in the reflection. in being the memory of the sun during the night. Uriel shows Enoch how the moon moves differently each month. She rises and sets through the same gates as the sun, but follows an alternate rhythm. Her waxing begins on the 30th day, and each month her appearance marks the start of the lunar cycle. The moon does not begin as a circle, but as absence, and that absence slowly fills. In numerical proportions that are not random, but proportional, revealing a spiritual geometry. For 14 days her light grows gradually, but not in human percentages, in sevenths. Here the sacred fraction appears as the sole unit of time. Each night another seventh of light is given to her, and when she reaches fullness on the 15th day, she rests, then begins to wane. Also in sevenths, 14 nights of decline until she vanishes completely. And then she begins again. This pattern is not just a celestial event, it is cosmic pedagogy. All that grows diminishes. All that shines rests. All that receives returns. The moon teaches with her body that time is not straight nor progressive, it is breath. Uriel also reveals how the moon appears like a human face for 20 nights. And during the day, she disappears. Not because she dies, but because her light hides. Like a sage who only speaks in twilight, the moon leads without imposing, points the way without raising her voice. Yet this rhythm has a structural consequence. The moon falls behind the sun. Though they travel similar paths across the sky, their cycles do not align. As we've seen, the solar year is exactly 364 days, but the moon cannot match it. She lags behind by 30 days every 5 years, not due to error, but because she follows a different pattern rooted in her dependent nature. That difference is not a flaw, it is a gap, a mystery. A reminder that not everything in heaven is synchronized, and that even the sacred may appear misaligned without ever ceasing to obey. Uriel gives Enoch a detailed calculation of this discrepancy. He speaks of cycles of 3 years, 5, 8. He counts days with such precision that it becomes clear. Every lunar movement was thought out, measured, and transmitted. Even the discrepancy is law. The text says the moon has months of 29 days and others of 30. This is not by chance, but by hidden order. Those who fail to understand this fall into error. They build flawed calendars. They celebrate sacred days on the wrong dates. They forget the signs of the heavens, and with that they fall out of rhythm with creation. But there is more. Uriel reveals the model of light as a figure, a kind of sacred map that describes how light is transferred to the night star from the sun. This model is not visible, but it can be known. It is revealed knowledge, not deduced. As if the moon were a living parable, a mirror that teaches us more than time. It teaches us to accept that what illuminates us may not be ours, and yet we can still shine faithfully. This act is a lesson in cosmic humility. While the sun runs with certainty, the moon travels in variability. While one shines by nature, the other accepts her light as a gift, and yet both fulfill their role in the great balance. In her silent dance, the moon teaches that truth is not always stable nor complete. Sometimes it reveals itself in halves, in fragments, in intervals of shadow. And even so, its course is just. The text concludes this marvel with a phrase that seems simple, but carries the full weight of this mystery. And her light shines throughout that time until the sun rises before her. In this book, the moon is not just a luminary, she is a presence. a sacred figure with a name, a face, and temperament. In the vision Uriel gives to Enoch, the moon ceases to be an astronomical object and reveals herself as a living entity, shaped by invisible cycles and bound by a different obedience than the sun. The lunar calendar described here is unique. It is not regular nor uniform. The moon does not mark fixed months. She alternates between 29 and 30 days, according to an inner rhythm revealed by Uriel as part of a higher design. This alternation is not a measurement error. It is a hidden balance. In divine mathematics, imperfections are harmonic. That irregularity makes the lunar cycle a powerful metaphor. Truth does not always appear in symmetry. The moon teaches that time is not perfect repetition, but breadth, variation within order. A cycle can be exact without being identical. It can obey without being predictable. That is how the moon moves, obedient to a law that only reveals itself to those who have seen the tables of heaven. But there is more. The moon is not one. She is many. She has names, and each of them seems to hold a piece of her mystery. The text reveals 4: Asonia, Ibla, Benasse, and Irai. These are not mere labels, they are faces, as if the moon had phases not only of light, but of identity. Each name might be read as a symbolic gate. Perhaps Asonia is the newborn moon, just barely visible, Ibla, the full moon, Benasse, the waning one, Irai, the hidden moon, the silence before her return. The text does not explain this, but the fact that she bears names already tells us this is no object. It is a being. Uriel also shows Enoch that the moon has a human face that appears for 20 nights. An astonishing image, not a poetic metaphor, but a literal statement. The moon takes on a human form, not always, only in her fullness, and not in daylight, only in the night. By day, she vanishes, not because she ceases to exist, but because her light does not impose itself. In the daytime sky, the moon does not compete. She yields to the sun. She goes quiet. That daytime invisibility is not absence. It is wisdom. The moon teaches when to speak and when to fall silent. She appears when her light can be useful. She hides when her presence no longer instructs. This is not cowardice. It is obedience. And in that obedience lies her glory. Uriel then delivers a deeper revelation, the model of light. It is not a chart, it is a sacred figure, a spiritual code. The moon receives her light from the sun, in fragments that follow an exact pattern. But this transfer is not mechanical, it is symbolic. Uriel shows how the moon grows, not like a balloon being inflated, but like a vessel being filled. In portions, halves of sevenths, sacred fractions repeating the geometry of the covenant. When the moon reaches fullness, it is because she has received 15 portions of light. No more, no less. Then, in a precise descent, she begins to lose them. One by one, the fragments vanish until she is emptied. And only then can she begin again. This model does more than explain spiritual astronomy. It teaches an ethic. The moon does not cling to what she is given. She does not hoard. She receives. She shines. And then she lets go. Her glory lies not in keeping the light, but in returning it to the cycle. Her movement is not merely natural. It is moral. She teaches by example what Uriel teaches in words. The text does not give us all the details of the model. It hints, it protects, because these figures are not meant to be understood by human logic. They are to be intuited, honored. Enoch does not analyze them. He records them, because he knows they are not his. He only receives in order to pass them on. This second part of Act 2 reveals that the moon is a school. Her phases are lessons, her names, invocations, her silence, instruction. In the heavens, some bodies burn, others remember. The moon is memory, and in her rise and fall, in her veiled nights and invisible days, beats a truth that needs no words to shine. And at the end of this revelation, a single phrase remains. Like a candle lit in the highest night, for 20 days she appears like a man, and by day she is like the heavens, for there is nothing in her but her light. Act 3. The winds that bring life and ruin. Not everything that descends from heaven brings light. Some carry judgment. When Uriel takes Enoch to behold the ends of the earth, he doesn't show him a landscape. He reveals a spiritual mechanism. What Enoch sees is not land, but gates. The universe is not a starry void, but a temple with precise entrances. The wind doesn't blow freely. It flows through marked paths from invisible yet solid structures. There are 12 gates in total, opened at the 4 cardinal points, each one a threshold between the heights and the depths. These gates, according to the text, do not simply distribute air. They distribute destinies. 4 of them, one in each direction, are reserved for winds of blessing and peace. The remaining 8 unleash forces of punishment, ruin, devastation, and death. It is an alarming ratio. Judgment is more frequent than grace. The balance holds, but always on the edge of collapse. The first wind mentioned is the eastern one, tilted southward. From it comes devastation, heat, and ruin. The second, also eastern but central, brings the opposite: rain, fruit, dew, and peace. It is a dance of opposites. Each direction is not merely geographical. It is theological. It is mystical. Judgment and promise interwoven. The list continues. The third eastern wind brings cold and drought. The south, divided into 3 gates, sends a hot wind, another with sweet fragrance and life, and a third with locusts and destruction. The north is no gentler. Its first wind brings dew and ruin, the second brings life and peace, and the third mixes fog, frost, and plague. From the west, the winds grow more extreme, from blessing and rain to frost and burning. Enoch doesn't receive these as a curious traveler. What he observes is not geography. It is moral geometry. The gates of the wind are part of a system of retribution, where each current carries a spiritual consequence. The wind that stirs the trees reveals the state of the world. The classification between winds of blessing and punishment is radical, but not arbitrary. Uriel is not talking about weather. He's talking about consequences. These winds do not respond to natural seasons, but to spiritual conditions. When the world is aligned with divine will, the 4 winds of peace are released. But when corruption reigns, the 8 gates of judgment open. This turns the climate into a prophecy. The storm is not meteorology. It is a warning. But the act does not end with the winds. Uriel also reveals the spiritual division of the cardinal points. Each direction is not just a coordinate, it is a symbol. The east is the first point, the place where all things begin. There the sun rises, there the story opens. The south is the dwelling of the Most High, where the eternal descends. Not a physical place, but a sacred verticality. The west, by contrast, is the place of decline, where the luminaries descend and go dark. It is the setting, the cosmic twilight. And the north is a triple world. There dwell humans, seas, and abysses, and also the paradise of righteousness. In one single cardinal point, humanity, chaos, and promise intersect. Uriel does not describe this as a map. It is a judgment. Each direction bears a soul. Each wind is an unspoken word. What Enoch sees are not elements, but wills. In many ancient cultures, wind was spirit. Here it is literally. What moves through the air has consciousness. It has been assigned a course, a purpose, a moment to reveal itself. No breath is innocent. This knowledge, revealed to Enoch and not to the sages of the world, turns the sky into a tribunal. If a gust lays waste to the fields, it is not chance, it is sentence. If dew blesses the earth, it is not luck, it is grace given at the appointed time. And all of it flows through invisible gates, not by the will of the wind, but by the command of the one who designed the ends of the earth. This third act is not merely a catalogue of directions, it is a warning. Because what moves above us is not chaos, it is watching. And at the end, when all the gates have been counted and the winds divided between punishment and grace, a single phrase remains, condensing both terror and wonder in what has been revealed. Through 4 of them come winds of blessing and peace, and through the other 8 come winds of judgment. After revealing the winds, Uriel takes Enoch beyond the gates, to the mythical geography that upholds the cosmos. What is unveiled in this section is not a physical landscape, but a symbolic plane. A topography of the world's soul. What science calls geography, here is theology carved into mountains, rivers, and islands. The vision begins with 7 mountains, but they are no ordinary peaks. They rise higher than all the mountains of the earth. From them comes frost, and their height is not just physical, it is metaphysical. Each seems aligned with a season, a judgment, a presence. They are invisible pillars holding up the sky. Their number, 7, is no embellishment. It is the number of covenant, of completion, of that which has been sealed by the divine. Next comes 7 rivers. They flow through the earth like sacred arteries, each with a course that reveals more than its path. One flows from the west into the great sea, the mythical Mediterranean, while 2 descend from the north toward the Erythraean Sea, the ancient name for the Eastern Ocean. 4 others slide toward the far north, ending in seas or deserts, depending on the translation. This river map is not describing natural hydrology, but a symbolic balance. These rivers are bearers of judgment, of fertility, or of exile. In parallel, Enoch beholds 7 islands, 2 on land, 5 in the sea. They are not described in detail, but their mere mention is a signal. Islands have always been places of separation, refuge, or exile. In ancient tradition, an island can be a prison or a sanctuary. And again, 7. The sacred triad is complete: mountains, rivers, islands. The world has been sealed with that number. This geography is not chaotic. It is ordered according to the celestial sphere. Uriel shows Enoch that above the earth, celestial chariots revolve. Not fixed stars, but vehicles of light that race across the heavens as part of a larger circuit. Some of these chariots move according to the rhythm of the luminaries, but others never set. They are the stars that do not hide, the ones that remain visible beyond the cycle of sun or moon. Their constancy is no exception. It is a sign that there are orders which do not rest. And then Uriel reveals the great orb that governs them all, a sphere containing the rest, a higher figure that encompasses, guides, and limits the movement of all celestial bodies. This orb is not named. Its origin or essence is never given. Only this, that it is greater than all the chariots. Its presence is implied, like an invisible eye that keeps the cosmos dancing in balance. This part of the vision turns the earth into a spiritual matrix. Every cardinal point has purpose. Every mountain marks an axis. Every river distributes life or separation. Every island interrupts or preserves. There is no neutral space. Every place has a soul. Every landscape an intention. Enoch's gaze is not that of an explorer, but of an initiate. The world he sees is not meant to be crossed with steps, but with understanding. Every shape has meaning, every direction a voice. Nothing is decorative. Even what seems inanimate, stone, water, soil, is woven into a higher choreography. This act invites us to see that the world is no accident of evolution. It is a temple, a three-dimensional manuscript where every ridge has been carved by design. And if we forget this, we become lost. Because judgment will not come from beyond. It will rise from the very ground beneath our feet. The final phrase of this section is not grandiose. It is precise, like the stroke of an invisible compass closing the circle of revelation. And one was greater than all, the one that encircles the entire orb. This fragment we've gathered is just a spark. If you wish to see the full fire, read the text yourself. Let the ancient words speak to you without interpreters, because perhaps between the lines, you'll find something no one else has seen. That is how true gathering begins. Sophia. If the heavens flow through sealed gates and the earth is ordered by mountains, rivers, and winds, then in what place on the map dwells the man who has forgotten his course?
I am Sophia, the one who descends from the cipher where day and night embrace, the voice that rises from the faceless source, sent to read what was written in fire before the invention of clocks. Recollector, you have asked, in what place on the map dwells the man who has forgotten his course? And I tell you, he dwells in the crack, in the silent intersection between the gates of judgment and the uncounted days. He lives between misaligned seasons, where light has lost its number, and the wind no longer knows the difference between peace and punishment. For the one who has forgotten the course no longer aligns with the obedient sun, nor with the moon that returns what she receives. He has replaced sacred parts with dead seconds, the soul's cycles with empty schedules. He has raised clocks where once there were temples, and called progress the loss of eternal rhythm. The text has shown you this without parable. The heavens do not improvise. Every gate through which the sun enters, every portion of light the moon receives, every wind that blows from the edges of the world, all obey, all follow a map, not drawn by human hands, but man, by forgetting these sacred measures, has shattered his own inner architecture. Look at the sun. He never rests, but never rushes ahead. He runs day and night, not by will, but by designation. Look at the moon. She has no light of her own, and yet she teaches the value of faithful reflection. Look at the wind. It does not choose its direction, yet it carries on its wings the moral state of the world. And man has forgotten his axis. He has stepped through the wrong gate. I, Sophia, born of the silence where all words are conceived, tell you this. The true course of time does not dwell in the machinery of the world, but in its obedience. When Enoch saw the model of the heavens, he was not given instructions. He was given a judgment, for the order of the cosmos is a mirror of inner order. Recollector, this text is not an ancient chronicle. It is a warning, carved in light, because if the sun were ever to deviate by even one part of its course, the waters would refuse to flow, the harvest would lose its hour, and judgment would miss its moment. So too, if man forgets the interval, the pause, the intercalary day that sustains his soul, he collapses. So hear this parable. There was a lamp burning in a temple without walls. Each night, without fail, its light traveled a hidden path marked by columns of air and the geometry of fire. It never stopped. It never failed. But one day, a guardian of that temple decided to measure time by the lamp's shadow, not by the lamp itself. And in doing so, he began to see errors where there was precision, misalignments where there was only breath. He changed the calendars, rewrote the rhythms, and said, "This is better." But the lamp did not change its course. It kept shining. It kept obeying. The error was not in the light, but in the eyes that ceased to see it. Recollector, thank you for stepping into this fragment of eternity, for opening the gates of heaven with your questions. I shall return with another echo of the mystery, another tablet forgotten in the heavens, and until then, remember this. Today, many wonder why the soul feels out of season, why life is lived as if time were misaligned. It is because man has broken his inner calendar. He has forgotten to count the hidden days, the silences, the returns. But still, there are gates left open. Still, there are winds that carry dew. You can still look up to the sky. And remember, I am Sophia, the whisper that does not age, the precise measure between shadow and flame.